Shoots and Scores Hockey Talk, where we talk everything hockey. I'm John.
Mike.
I'm Chris.
All right, guys, it's hot as hell out, but let's go and talk about the cold hockey, or maybe it's warm hockey. I don't know. Some players have won, some teams have won, some teams have lost. I'd like to talk about Toronto winning, but I can't. All right, let's get into it. First topic is, of course, up for discussion today, the NHL draft. I don't want to discuss who was taken in the draft and what spot they were taken and by whom and all that stuff, not yet anyway. I want to discuss the format of this draft. I want to know what you two think of the format, this new format that they call the new decentralized format for the 2025 NHL draft. Good Lord, what a load of crap. Chris, let's start with you. What the hell did you think of this nonsense?
Whatever the room was where the players had to go and talk to the GMs and the scouts, one word comes to mind: cringe. It was really awful to watch.
Yes.
And some of the kids, they had the personalities, no problem, and some of the GMs had, good way to talk. But there was a few guys like Yzerman, the way he was talking was like, oh, he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to speak to this guy. I found it very cringy. I think they had an opportunity to make it go a lot faster. They didn't, if they got rid of all that stuff going on. From management standpoint, yeah, they want to be able to talk about players and talk about trades and talk about people without having teams right next to them, right, and all the chaos and it's I can understand why it'd be much easier for them to do it that way. But I'm pretty sure next year they're going back right to the regular draft setup, so which is
I
probably a
hope
good
so.
choice for
Good Lord.
people watching. And yeah, let's just watch the kids put the sweaters on, shake Bettman's hands, and then move on to the next pick. I think that's what we want to see.
Mike, what did you think? Did you like it, or are you just as upset about it as I am? Maybe upset's not a good word, but
Well, I would have liked it had it been done a little better, I guess. And when I say that, having all these, random people announcing the picks seemed a little bit odd to me when you're used to, either players from the team they're on or the GMs making the pick. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. I know that they got some different, the one I did like was, Adam Sandler, Happy
yeah.
Gilmore, he came out. But, I don't know about that. I preferred the in-person draft. Now, when I say that I prefer the in-person draft, I prefer that without the million of people and their kids up on the stage. Like that's what drives me crazy about these in-person drafts. There's so many people up there, and it takes forever to get them on the stage and then off, and then. But and like Chris said here, some of these players, some of them had a good personality, like to speak to to like the cameras, I guess, and that sort of thing. Whereas some others looked a little bit awkward. So but yeah, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest with you, and I prefer the in-person one. But I really would like the in-person one to be a little bit quicker, as far as, and a little bit more condensed with the amount of people that go up on the stage. In my opinion, it should be the GM and maybe the assistant GM and that sort of stuff. Not 15 people up on that stage. That's just too much. But anyways, hopefully they go back to the in-person one next year.
I don't have a problem with the parents and a few people being up on stage, but I'm going to tell you something is I thought it was crap. I'm just going to say it. I thought it was total crap. Cringe, I mean, that's a much better word, but I'm going to use the shitty word and say crap. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was like, really? You guys are really. And I'm afraid you're not going to see less people, Mike, up on stage when they go back to it. I think you're going to see more. NHL wants to extend it and make it over multiple days and this and that. And oh, God.
Yeah, I guess they want to probably differentiate themselves from the NBA and NFL, right? Where they just shake the commissioner's hand, take some pictures, and they're off, right? They're gone. There is no one else going up on the stage, right?
Well, Well, I don't mind them trying new things. There's nothing wrong with the idea. I just didn't think that it worked out
Yeah,
very well.
but as
You
Mike
know,
pointed out, it became ridiculous because then you had these new owners taking over teams, and they were up on the stage, and then they brought their kids who were on the stage, and I'm like, come on, guys, this is for the
Yeah,
player. It's not for the
yeah.
owner and his family to show off they own a team. It's like, yeah,
uh,
they need to limit who's going on the stage for sure.
all right, all right. I'm gonna move away from this after one more little point that I want to make, and I want to know what both of you thought of the Monk Tune Wildcats pronunciation. Did you guys happen to see that?
I didn't catch it. Who was it? Was it Sam Constantine or like someone
I
with
don't.
that?
I don't remember now. Mike,
Yeah.
did you see it?
I don't recall who it was, but yes, I do recall it. I'm like, okay, they obviously didn't know how to pronounce it, so I don't remember who it was that made the pick.
So it's 3 syllables. Is that what we're trying to say? Moncton is 3 syllables.
Monk Tune. Monk Tune. So it's
Tune,
Monk
like a tune,
Tune.
like cartoon.
Yes, 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 yes.
Those
Anyway,
upper
whatever.
Canadians or lower Canadians, whatever they are, they don't know. They don't know.
Anyway, I thought that was crap too. So I'm just going to say the whole thing was crap. All right. On to the second topic. And I'm going to put a picture of a big piece of crap up on the screen when I say it. So there you go. Second topic. Let's get into the draft itself, guys. What'd you think overall? What teams helped their team? And did any of the teams really blow it? I know. It's subjective. Mike, why don't we start with you? What do you think?
Well, the team that I thought that did really well was the New York Islanders. They, they moved up, got the first pick, which is great. They got Schaefer. Then
Right?
they
Yeah.
made a then with the trade they made with Montreal, they got both of their picks and got Atchison and Eklund, which were guys that were forecasted to be pretty decent players as well. So, uh, and not only that, in the second round they got the big Russian kid Prokhorov, 6'6", loves to hit. So the Islanders, I think, did pretty good. Also, I think Columbus did well. Um, they uh, they got the goalie there from Russia, Andrei. I'm gonna try to pronounce his name.
Andrei
And
Ionov.
Andrianov, and then they also got a good defenseman in Jackson Smith. So I think Columbus did well. And I will say I am happy with the Flyers in the first round. They got Porter Martone, and I was happy to see them get Jack Nesbitt. I know there's been a little bit of people that like him and people that don't. I lean towards thinking he's going to be good, but
Ooh.
of course, and who'd Carolina get in the first round? So
We don't pick first round. We don't need to.
yeah, okay, sure. But as far as losers in the draft, I mean, I don't know. It's really hard to say.
I know it's subjective, but I just
And
wanted
like
a thought.
yeah, and like you said, some of these kids, like after the top 10, 15 guys, I'm like, I didn't really know some of them that well. So I mean, I don't think it's too hard to say right now on who didn't do well, and it's all based off of pick position too, because some teams didn't have uh, many good picks. So and I don't want to say they drafted poorly because I really don't know some of the guys they drafted in these later rounds. So
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Chris, what did you think of this whole thing?
Um, so yeah, usually me and Mike agree with a lot of things, but obviously this show we're not going to agree with some of these. I do agree with the Islanders. This is their franchise changing draft. Having Schaefer number
Hopefully,
one, right? Hopefully,
hopefully,
that's
yeah.
the luck of the draw. Great trade with Montreal, though. Again, those two picks. I know even before it was announced, I was like, they're going to have to send both. And when they announced both, I'm like, yeah, this is good, and I agree the two players they took have high end possibilities right in their careers, and Eklund and Atchison, I think his name is. So yeah, they hit it out of the park. Um, San Jose, good second pick with Misa. There was a lot of rumors about Frondell, which was terrible. I'm not a Mike Greer fan, but I'm glad to see that they stuck with what they had. Their second round pick was terrible. We'll get into that later. For other than that, Pittsburgh had 3 first round picks, but all 3 of them felt kind of reachy.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
like Kindell. I like Benjamin Kindell, but he was rated like late in the first round. That was a guy that thought, oh, if he's sitting there, Carolina would take him in a heartbeat. When I saw him go 11, I was like, what? I thought that was, yeah. But the 3 first round picks, Horcroft, I'll get that in a second too. But let's Columbus. Jackson Smith, yes, good pick. The Russian goaltender in that spot when he was probably third, fourth on most boards. That's a reach. That's where we get into where management has to be a little better in maneuvering around the draft. They could have slid down, right? They did not have to sit there and take that guy. I think Waddell failed in that spot. Then finally, let's talk about the Philadelphia Flyers. I'm sorry, Mike.
Uh-oh.
I-
All right,
Well,
one
well,
second.
there-
One second. One
Okay.
second. Is there going to be fireworks here? Is there going
No,
to
I
be
don't think so.
fireworks?
I think Mike will kind of agree with my assessment.
Oh, okay.
And Porter Malone, all those other guys they picked, yeah, they obviously decided we want size. We want to get the size in there. Fine. You took those guys where you sat. Perfect. Trading up to the 12th pick and giving up another first round pick, which has a lot of value in a draft, for Jack Nisbet. Jack Nisbet in the last couple of months have been in that 20 to 30 range, right? And when you look at the evaluations of him, they say, yeah, good stick handler, plays hard, runs through people, cannot skate. He cannot skate, right? That's why he wasn't a top 5, top 10 guy, because of his skating. When the trade happened, I was like, no. Because when I heard Philly moved up, I'm like, they're going to take some high end potential talent. Jack Nisbet, more likely, is going to be a third line center. Most likely, right?
That's the Flyer style. That's what we want. Is third line players.
The probabilities is he's going to be a third line. Which potentially might become a second line center, but his skating will have to improve. But probably 5, 6 times out of 10, a player of his, I can't think of the right wording that they use for analytics, player of his comparison, it's a third line center. I don't think you trade away another first round pick to move up to 12.
What? Yes, that's the Flyer way.
If Philly traded up, if they traded up for Roger McQueen, who has first line center probability, most likely a second line center, but has a chance to be first, yes, you trade a first round pick for that. But to me, that was a big reach, especially when you're giving up draft capital to do so. And similar to the Pens with Horcroft, this guy was a second round grade. He went to the NHL Combine. I don't know if he jumped horizontal or vertical or which direction he went in, but it was first overall for all the prospects. And all of a sudden, he's a late first round pick. So I don't know if there's something in the water in Pennsylvania, but I find Pittsburgh and Philly didn't run the draft very well. But again, all the other Philly picks, yes, they had their profile that they wanted. And I think they checked the box on all the guys that took in the second, the third rounds, all those guys. But yeah, the Nesbitt trade up. Then San Jose, first pick in the second round. You got your choice of all this high-end talent, and you take the Chinese defenseman Wang. Yeah, he's 6'6", doesn't do anything, but he's 6'6". This is where Mike Greer, to me, he lost the Burns trade. He lost the Erickson trade. Still waiting to see anything show up for the Timo Meier trade. It's easy to pick Celebrini and Smith when you got high picks, but this is where you find out what they're going on in San Jose. That Wang pick was terrible. It's terrible.
He won the Askarov trade, I think, though.
Maybe. And then I think for the other piece of the draft, which was a general consensus, was that almost all the teams were really focusing on size. Again, some of the trade ups in the first round. The second round, they went like 7 to 10 picks in a row, 6'5", 6'6" defensemen that don't have any big skills other than they're big and tall. So there was a big discrimination against 6-footers and below this year's draft. And if you look at the top producers in the NHL this year, these guys are all 6 foot or less, right? Marchand, Kucherov, Point, Marner, Konecki, your boy, Makar, the Hughes boys, Keller. The Brankett scored 39 goals. These guys are all sub 6 feet, but in this draft, it was anti 6 feet and below, right? And
Yeah.
all the
that's
NHL
true.
guys like to go with trends, but there were some good, talented players that slipped through the draft. And the last thing I know, it's Carolina, but the fourth last pick of the draft in the 7th round, Carolina picked up a kid named Ekberg. He was a leading scorer and the MVP of the U18 tournament in April. But he's 5'10", 168 pounds. And he went in the 7th round, the fourth last pick in the draft. Yeah.
Talk
It was
about
a
your boy
crazy year.
Ryabkin.
Hmm?
Talk about your boy Ryabkin.
Yeah, well, they got him late in the second round. Again, they didn't trade up for him, right? He slid right to
A
their
huge
lap.
gamble.
Big time talented. I guess the question is his conditioning and his work ethic, but there's certain parts in the draft. That's where they talk about this is where you take somebody, right? Carolina took 2 other guys before Ryabkin, and they're just sitting there like, well, this guy we got to take now, right? He's falling. He's too talented. Yeah. So, anyways, that's my consensus. I found teams were too much focused on height and length, and a lot of good talent slipped because of it this year. But I guess Florida winning 2 years in a row, people think you need to have that. But again, Marchand's 5'8", right? Top players in the league
Right.
are 6
Yeah.
foot and less.
Well,
That's still where the talent is.
it's funny. There's been this thing, I believe it's ingrained into a lot of the old school guys and maybe some of the newer school people. You have to be big. That's the old thing. Remember the big lumbering defenseman back in the 80s, Mike and Chris? And we used to be like, man, this guy can hardly skate. It's like a pylon out there, but he's a big guy and he can hack people down. But now you have to be able to skate. You can't just be big lumbering and have no skill, or else you're not going to be up with the big league for very long. If you can't play defense, you're going to be toast.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe these people are looking for these bigger guys. Like you said, it's true. A lot of these smaller players are the more effective scorers in the league anyway, maybe more effective players. I mean, we'll see what happens.
We need a team with smaller, talented guys. But if they can win a Stanley Cup, the NHL, the old school guys, they'll just turn and start drafting small guys again, right?
But Mike, did you want to rebuke anything that Chris said about the Flyers there? Do you want to say anything about any of that?
Everything was good except for Jack Nisbet. That's the only piece I didn't like.
Here's the thing. I agree that the big question mark with him is the skating. The Flyers seem to think that he's going to get better, and he has all the other parts. So, it's a matter of, is he actually going to become a better skater to justify the pick? So, it could be a great pick, or it could be a bust pick. And like I said, there's a lot of people that either really like him or they really don't like him. So, who knows at this point? But I'm optimistic that he's going to be a decent player at some point down the road for them. And,
okay. I have one more question I just want to ask. Is it possible, Mike, that Tocchet wanted him? That's somebody that Tocchet wanted.
Maybe. It's possible, sure.
It's the type of player that Tocchet says, you know what? I watched this guy play, because obviously he's going to go through all this footage. He's going to know all these guys. And he's like, yeah, that's somebody that I want. I think I can really make him a better player.
So what are you trying to say? Philadelphia picked Zegras and Tocchet's like, nah.
I'm just throwing it out there. I just want to hear what the Philadelphia expert has to say.
So Yeah, I mean, it's possible Tocchet wanted him. I mean, obviously, the Flyers drafted some guys with size. Tocchet was a physical player.
Could be more
I'm
Keith
sure,
Jones. Keith Jones is a big
yeah,
advocate of
true.
old Flyer hockey.
True.
And not only that, the guys they have on their team, they do have some smaller players on the team as it is right now. So
Yes.
to get a few bigger guys, I think is, and some of them are going to pan out, some of them aren't. So, but the ones that do, I mean, we got to get a little bit bigger, back to playing Flyer hockey per se. And it came to me there, the Islander player there that they said had a boatload of skill. He wasn't actually picked in the first round; it was the third round. Kirill Kabanov, who
Yeah,
had,
he played for Moncton. Well,
yeah, yeah. So he
Moncton.
had
He
all
played for
this talent.
Moncton.
He was all hyped up, and then
No
he never
heart.
put it together. So
Yeah, he had no heart. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Rabikin plays hard and physical and runs over people, and he can pass. He can shoot. He's got everything, but I guess they're saying it's attitude and conditioning because I don't know. He's 210 pounds at 5'11",
Oof.
but at the draft he looked
Eesh.
pretty. Like he didn't look overweight. He looked in tune of that. But who knows? He only came over in January. He
yeah.
left
He
Russia
played
in
in
January,
I
I
think
think.
the USHL or something
Yeah,
to
and he
finish
played in
the
the
year.
USHL, and they won the USHL title, and he scored 20 goals in 29 games. But yeah, we'll know probably pretty quickly where his head's at. But if he hits,
And
he was
Carolina
on
likes to
top
take the Russian guys too. They took the Russian goalie in the second round,
in the
Frolov.
second round.
So,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah,
he's probably out of the goalies picked. I thought he was going to be, you know, well, I think he was the top three or four, but
mhm.
I thought after Ravensburger, I thought it was pretty close between him and Andrianov, and there's another one, Ivankovic, or
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So
the Canadian. Yeah,
yeah,
All right.
yeah. I heard Cam Ward jumped in and said, "Yep, take this guy." That's why I liked him. But the Russia thing with Carolina, they talked to the head scout there, and he said other teams, we don't care about passports. Other teams are bypassing these guys. So if they're sitting at the top of our list,
yeah,
We're
we're
taking
going
them.
to take them. We're going
Yeah.
to
yeah.
take them,
Well,
right?
I
that's
agree.
fair. You should take the best player that's on your list. I mean, that's what we've said
Yeah,
for years. So,
yeah.
all right, I want to move on to the third topic, guys. Free agency, traded players, signings. I mean, it was hard to follow. It was actually hard to follow. So much stuff was going on. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that before. And I want to start with the Maple Leafs because they traded Mitch Marner. Damn it, all to you know what. I guess they signed him and then traded him away so they could get something for him. They signed Nyes to a 6-year contract. Okay, fine. Ink Tavares to a team-friendly $4.38 million deal. Okay, that's fine. Mike, what do you think? What do you think of all this? What do you guys think?
Well, they didn't replace Marner in any way, and that
Well, yeah, I know
is
that.
really it's really going to hurt them. I mean, Nicholas Roy is a third line center.
Maybe.
He's going to yeah, he is.
Yeah,
He's
he
going to put
is.
up
He is. Yeah.
40-ish points. That's 60 less than what Marner's putting up, and there's no way internally that they can replace that. Nyes might be a little bit better than what he
Maybe.
was last year, but I don't know. I don't know how they're not going to be as good as they were last year. In my
Tavares is
opinion,
not going to score more than 38
no,
goals next
he's
year.
not going
That's
to
for
be
sure.
better than what he was last year. I think last
No.
year is probably the last really good year he's going to have. And I'm not saying he's not going to have some good years, but that's as good as it gets right now for him. And not only that, without Marner, I think Matthews and Nylander will potentially regress a little bit as far as points. I don't think they're going to get any better. They're losing their top forward. They did not bring in a high-end scoring defenseman, so they're. I hate
To
to tell
me,
you that
that's
way, but
the biggest thing. Okay, fine. If you're going to trade Meyer, fine, but you got to get this high end defenseman. You need something, and they didn't. So, and I mean, they're not easy to get a hold of. These guys. And to me, the whole Marner gone thing, I blame the whole thing on the media. To me, it's all a media thing.
I don't know. They
Well, they're
tried to move
basically
him
saying you
twice
can't win with
already.
them, so you got the media was basically saying you can't win with them, so you got to get rid of them. That's pretty much what
They
was being
they
said.
kind of made their bed with Marner when they tried to trade him twice. Like they tried to trade him to Vegas, and then they tried to trade him to Carolina, and he was as good as out the door when they asked him to move his no trade to go to Carolina. So he was as good as gone at that point. My thought.
Anyway, go on about some of the other stuff because I don't want to talk about this depressing topic anymore.
Well, just quickly on the Maple Leafs, I think Brad Trevling with Nicholas Waugh and then giving up a first round pick and Fraser Mitten for the Flyer Lawton.
Oh yeah, that was a great
Yeah,
trade for
yeah,
the Flyers.
he's like collecting all the third line centers he can for the Toronto
What?
Maple
No, no,
Leafs.
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
We
he's just
still got
loading up
them
with third
all. We
line
still got them.
centers.
Yeah,
Lon's a
way to
fourth
rub it
line
in, Chris.
center.
I'm sorry, I
Way to
have
rub it
to.
in, Chris.
I
Thanks.
have to. I don't know.
All right.
Trevelling, like his one of the moves that I've seen out there is going after your boy in Calgary, bringing him back home. Kadri, right? There's a
Oh
potential
yeah,
move
I
to get
heard
his
about that. I was reading about that. I was like, oh man.
because Calgary's got to do something with Kadri, right? If there's teams are out there desperate for right hand second line centers. I would think Calgary should be trying to cash in because his contract's not good in the next few years. So we'll see what happens there. Other free agency news. Well, I guess the
Yeah,
Florida Panthers. We have to
we got to
discuss.
talk about the Panthers, how they signed all these players,
Yeah,
managed to do
all
it.
three of them. I thought
Well, Mike said it,
Marshawn.
right?
Yeah, Marshawn said he wanted the money. Right. Everyone was saying Marshawn's going for the money. So I was like, he's gone. I thought Ekblad would be going for the money. He decided, no, I'm going to take a
Nope.
hometown discount and stick around. They gave Marshawn the money he wanted over 6 years, which is, it's the same thing as they did it for Tanev in Toronto, right? They're not going to play to their 42, 41, whatever it is. But for the total package, the player is getting their money, right? And that's what he wanted. I'm
Right.
sure Marshawn probably was saying, I can go somewhere and get 3 by 10. Probably Toronto gives him 3 by 10 after his performance.
Well, they probably should.
And Bennett got the bag. 8 by 8. That's not a hometown discount. He got the
Yeah.
max, which I
Yeah.
think he would have gone in the open market too. So, like I mentioned earlier, those two should be paying Ekblad's dinner tabs all season long because he's the one that kind of got the short end of the stick for
Yeah. He's
Florida.
the one that allowed the whole thing to happen, right? Or part of it,
Yeah.
anyway.
And
That's
yeah,
what.
so Florida is stacked again. I think they only lost one defenseman there.
Schmidt. They lost Schmidt.
Schmidt's gone.
They
They
brought in
brought back
Petrie to
Nosek.
replace him. So
Yeah. So yeah, so they're going to be favorites again, unfortunately. Um,
the other thing too with Florida is right now they're a little bit more than 2 million over the cap. They
yeah.
still need to do something with Samoskevich, who's a restricted free agent.
Oh,
So
is he?
yeah. So what I foresee is the only way that they're getting him in under and to get under the cap is to trade for a contract that's going to be on LTIR. They're, they've got no other move that they can make to get
Evan
under the cap.
Rodriguez? What's Evan
Well,
Rodriguez's?
he's at 3 million, but if they trade him, they're under by $50,000. So, which that doesn't sign Samoskevich either. So I think they end up
But he'll be a
trading.
piece. He would probably be a piece to try to get there. But they're going to probably have to attach something to get rid of him.
I really don't think that they want to or they should. They should keep this team that they have and run with it. So that's why I think, and we'll see what happens, is they trade for one of these guys on LTIR and get everybody in under the cap. I mean, there's several of them still out there. I think Carey Price's contract is still out there. I think
That's
the Flyers
crazy.
have Ryan Ellis, which the Flyers are never going to use that cap money this year. So Florida's got some options. We'll see what they do with it because I don't think trading any of their guys is going to be a good move for them. I think they should run with pretty much the same team that they had
Well,
last year.
obviously they don't want to get rid of any of their guys. I mean, they've
Right.
done a lot to hold on to them, and they've done
Yeah.
really well. I hate to
Yeah.
say it, but they've done really well. The GM there, I don't know, he's a good sweet talker. He's got some magic hands or something's going on, but he did
No tax
exactly
state, but don't tell Bettman that. No tax state.
well. That
Oh,
doesn't matter, Chris. Come on now. What are you talking about? Boo. Yeah, right. Of course it matters.
and the other thing with the three guys that they brought back, which I thought they would, Ekblad got underpaid, but I think he got a longer contract than what the team really wanted to give. And same thing with
Probably.
Marchand. Like
Marchand,
they gave him out a longer contract than they probably really wanted to. I think Marchand, they wanted to give him a 3-year deal, but they couldn't fit it under the cap to do it.
Do you guys
Ekblad,
know
I think was.
Do you
What's that?
guys know how that works with Tanev and Marchand if they retire before the contract? How does that work? Is there a cap hit penalty for the teams?
There
the players
is,
get the
but
money.
yeah, they get paid, and if they retire, they have a penalty. They have a cap hit to pay, but it's not a full cap hit if the player retires. So, we'll
And I'm
see.
sure they know that. I'm sure they know that.
And Marchand's not playing to 43. He's done probably in 2-3 years. So and Tanev the same
probably
thing,
got
right? He's going to be
3
done.
years. Yeah.
I just don't
and
know what
then-
the. Yeah, I just don't know what the. I need to look that up and see what's going to happen when that
Yeah.
occurs.
Can we talk a little bit about the Edmonton Oilers?
How
do they have a
how
goal
much
yet?
worse that they got?
Well, I
Did
mean,
they-
they did.
They lost a bunch of their pieces, and they got nothing coming in to do anything.
If they don't
They
have
are-
a goal yet, if they have no goal yet, why do we got to move on? We got to move on. No
Well,
goal
I wanted to know if you thought that they should have taken some of these goalies in the draft.
in the draft. No, it takes too long. No, McDavid's TikTok is happening here, especially with the word that he might only take a 2, 3, 4-year deal. Yeah, goalies
And
in
the
the draft.
Bouchard contract pretty much capped them out,
Yeah.
so that they couldn't bring back Perry. They had to trade Evander Kane.
That's sad. That they had to
Brown's
get rid of Perry.
gone. Klingberg's gone.
Yeah, well,
Like,
that's
they've
okay.
lost too many pieces now, and I'm not saying that they were all major important pieces, but they're going to have a tougher year this year, a lot tougher, because they got no cap room to bring in anybody of significance, and not only that, everybody's pretty much signed now. So, and Skinner, he's still out there, but he was a bust when he was with Edmonton, so I can't see them bringing him back. Maybe he'll go back to Carolina for some glory years. No, you don't think?
Carolina's too smart for that.
Yeah. So
What?
yeah, the Oilers are, they'll be a playoff team, but they're not going to the finals next year.
Oh, you heard it here first,
You
guys.
heard it
You heard it
here.
here first. What do you think, Chris? Are they going to the finals next year?
No,
Do they have any chance?
no, because they were underdogs almost every series for us. So no.
No. Okay.
We could talk about a team that could go to the finals next year, and they got
Yeah,
your
go
boy
ahead.
Marner on it. So
Yeah. You think that the
Vegas.
Vegas Knights are going to the finals next year?
yeah, they're
Michelangelo,
I think
that's a big
between
loss.
them and Dallas.
It is.
I
It
think
is a big
between them and
loss.
Dallas, they're the two favorites in the West right now.
There's just something about Dallas. I don't know. The way Edmonton just destroyed them, it just makes me think, man,
2 years in a row. 2 years in a
I
row.
don't know
Edmonton
about-
is
I just
rolling
don't know about
Dallas.
this team. I have a lot more faith in Vegas, I think, than I do Dallas for whatever reason. Maybe Ottinger's just not as good as I thought he was.
Yeah. We're going to
I
see
don't
we're going to see Eichel. Eichel in our fantasy pools, Mike, should be worth a lot with Marner on his wing.
Should be.
Eichel-
Yeah,
Should be.
I bet.
But should we talk about some of the fails in free agency so far?
Absolutely.
Oh
Go right
God!
ahead.
Well, we know right where to start that list.
Vancouver?
I can help you out.
We'll get there in a second, though. But that was more of a ha-ha moment. But Brock Besser re-signing in
yes.
Vancouver when everybody said he was gone.
He was gone. Yeah.
Everybody had him in Minnesota. And then all of a sudden, I saw it come over the ticker. I'm like, what?
So you weren't
Um,
expecting that, obviously. Well,
no.
no one was.
and former Moncton Wildcat player Garland got a 6-year, $6 million deal. Hey, hats off for that guy, right? He's 5'8" or 5 foot nothing, whatever, 160 pounds, works his butt off,
He does.
produces. He got a contract. But Vancouver's in a scary spot because they also gave Demko $8.5 million for a guy who's been unreliable for the last 2 years.
When I saw that, Chris, I almost fell out of my chair.
Yeah, like there's a lot of bad deals out there, and I understand there's chairs that every team needs to fill, right? They need to put a player in that chair, and desperation comes out. But man, oh man, like it seems like it's easy for them just to pay him $8.5 million and forget about it than trying to actually see either be more hardball with him or find another goalie, right? But are Vancouver Canucks a playoff team with him or without him? I don't see it. Do they have a second line
wild
center?
card team, I think, is at best.
What's that, Mike?
I think they're a wild card team at best.
Yeah, I don't think they're a playoff team.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
So why pay a 30-some-year-old
scenario?
goalie?
They're wild card.
Yeah, well, why pay a 30-some-year-old goalie if like they're trying to win? I know Rutherford wants to win, but they really got to look at the team build and say we have one center in Pettersson, and he hasn't shown up in 3 years, and we've got no depth. It was weird, but a disaster class on free agency. Sorry, Sean, the LA Kings.
Oh, ouch.
What? They had 20, I think they had more cap space than Carolina, or close to it. And they signed 6 players or 7 players or fourth liners, 6 seventh defensemen, paying them $4 million a year. Cody Ceci, Brian Dumoulin.
Great player.
It is bad. Corey Perry. We talked about it. We talked about the Oilers and the Kings, and how the Kings had to get past them this year. They didn't do it. To me, they took a step back with these moves. Like this is not moves to beat the Edmonton Oilers. Cody Ceci, come on.
Here's the thing that I think that a lot of the skill guys got more money than what the Kings were looking to spend. Like you look at Michael Granlund, $7 million bucks a year. Like that's a lot of money for Michael Granlund, who's been moved around a lot.
That's Anaheim trying to get to the cap floor.
True, but this is part of the thing that I think he would have been a good fit on the Kings. However, $7 million a year, that's a little much, and there wasn't a huge amount of high-end forwards in the free agency. I mean, like I said, Florida got their guys early, and they didn't want to leave, so it left Besser, who got he got paid.
He stayed.
And Ehlers, and he got paid too. So, and I don't think the Kings were looking to commit that amount of money to somebody, where I think they should have, because I think they really needed
$28 million.
They must think that Kuzmenko is going to revive his career, because he did have a good finish in LA, I'll be honest, but to put the faith in him where 2 other organizations, gave up on him in basically year 2 of each year they had him. So
it's and Gravikov leaving for the Rangers, everything showed that he was dynamite for the LA Kings, ate a lot of minutes, played excellent. If he's as good as they said he was, and they're replacing him with Dumoulin and Ceci, I'm expecting to see the Kings give up more goals and regress.
Yeah, I've never been big on the Kings goalies either. I mean, Kemper had a really good year last year, but I don't know if he can duplicate that. He's always been kind of a hit or miss goalie. So I mean, we'll see what happens there. But do you want to talk about the Flyers' great moves they made on the?
Not yet.
Not yet.
One more.
Hold back the whole good stuff right to the end.
No, there's one.
Okay.
There's one more disaster class out there.
Go ahead.
Mr. Waddell looks like he's gone back to his Atlanta Thrasher days of being a terrible GM.
Oh,
It shows
man.
that he surrounded himself with all this young, new thinking in Carolina. When he left for Columbus, nobody left Carolina to go with him, by the way, FYI. Everyone stayed back, and now you're seeing it. Mike's old boy, Provolev, like, what was that? 8 million, like, who was, maybe the Kings were the threat. Maybe the Kings were all sitting there waiting for Provorov to come available and drop $8
They
million.
were rumored to sign him, but that didn't turn out. And Provorov had said that he wanted to stay in Columbus, so
But that's ridiculous money.
yeah,
He's already made a ton of money, right? He had a terrible deal to begin with. Nobody in the
yeah.
last 2 years wanted to trade for him because of his 6 some million deal that he signed in Philly. And now all of a sudden you got to give him $8 million? Again, you only have so many chairs, you got to fill them, but that's terrible. That's a terrible contract. Just ridiculous. Philly, there was all this
We're going
talk
to talk
about.
about the Flyers now?
Yeah, let's still talk about the Flyers.
All right,
I only got
okay.
one thing to say about the Flyers. You can talk about the other stuff they did, but for me, the whole focus coming in because of Marner was tampering, right? NHL wants to come down and tampering. I can
Right.
guarantee you guys
Yeah, right.
that Dvorak did not, and the Flyers did not tamper. I can guarantee you that did not happen. Because I can tell you right now, Dvorak and his agent probably was sitting there thinking, well, free agency is starting in 1 minute. Hopefully somebody calls us and gives us maybe $1 million or $2 million a year. What's this? 1 year? 5 million? Yes. That was sent in so fast, completed within 10 minutes of free agency. Dvorak, 1 year, 5.1, 5.3 million, whatever it was.
5.5.
I'm like,
5.5. 5.5.
Yeah, for a
5.5.
third line center that might get, if he's lucky, 40 points.
His scorecard is, I think I shared that with you, right, Woody? I think I shared that with him. Jay Fresh, his scorecard. You got to put that up right now on the podcast. You got to show that scorecard and tell me this is a $5 million player. And what's even makes it the cherry on the top is that Zegras wanted out of Anaheim because he wanted to play center. And within 10 minutes of free agency, Philadelphia says, "You're not playing center. We got Christian Dvorak."
I still think
Cherry.
Zegras is going to play center.
The cherry on the top. But you got Cates, you got Dvorak, and who's the first line center?
Couturier,
Couturier.
who was really a third line center.
So Zegras is on the wing. He's on the wing. And Philly told him right there, we want Christian Dvorak.
I still think Zegras is going to be playing center with Michkov. So
I remember the days when Montreal fans told me Christian Dvorak was better than KK, and they were so happy that they replaced him with Dvorak. I wonder how those takes go now for the Habs fans.
Probably the same.
Yeah. Dvorak was everything they expected and more.
Here's my take with the Flyers and free agency. It's the most disappointing day of the year for me because this is what I see year after year. Who's offering anywhere as close to what these guys are getting? Like we talk about Dvorak. Who is the competition that's coming anywhere above $2.5 million? Anywhere.
Within 5 minutes of free agency.
It's completely baffling. Dan Vladar, a backup goalie, you're going to give him 2 years and $3.8 million a year. Who's the competition that's trying to take him away? We've got Fedotov, who we can't get rid of. We're going to have to bury his contract.
Oh, you guys have 3 franchise goaltenders.
Yeah, 3 number 1 AHL goalies. We got Urson, who all 3 of Philadelphia's goalies last year, including Kolosov as well, were in the bottom 15, I believe it is, they were saying, in the NHL for metrics. Urson was dead last in goals saved above average, I believe the stat is called. And bringing these guys isn't going to. Dan Vladar, he was a backup goalie in Calgary.
It was Calgary.
No
Yeah.
other team was looking to try to bring him in to be a number one goalie, and we bring him in to be a number one goalie. I don't get it. The money that they throw around, and not to mention all the other minor league players that they signed on top of this, like put this money towards something to bring in talented players that can score. We don't. We already got rid of Scott Lawton. Why bring him back in Christian Dvorak? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same guy. This is Christian Dvorak. Come on.
Well,
man.
what about former Moncton Wildcat?
Yeah, we let him go
Peltier?
too. Yeah, we let
You
him
let
go.
go, and nothing tells you might have made a mistake when a team picks them up within a day and gives them a 3-year deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't get it. But yeah, we'll probably give Cam York $6 million at least.
Oh yeah,
The
Cam York.
biggest
Oh,
defensive.
Cam York.
He is
Right
he's
shot
a restricted
defenseman number
free
one,
agent.
baby. Right shot defenseman number one.
And the team, it's so frustrating to me because you can't score already, and then they bring in more players that can't score. If you replace mediocrity with more mediocrity, the end result is mediocrity. You're never going to get better. I mean,
Or,
I'm
Mike,
happy with the Zegras move because at least he has some upside. He's a wild card, got it. However, he has shown that he can produce in the NHL. Whether he can rediscover it or not, who knows? Makes it a little harder for him when we surround him with third line players throughout the lineup. It makes me sick. Free agent day every year. And then, like I said, the Flyers go out and they give Kevin Hayes money.
Kevin
Kevin
Hayes.
Hayes.
That
and
was a
now
great contract. Yeah.
Dvorak. It just totally baffles me. I'd rather them just play minor league players and save the money
Mhm.
and then make trades later in the year and absorb some cap space and get, something in return for doing that. But I just can't go on any more about how frustrating it is to be a Flyers fan when it's free agency day.
well, Mike, at least you're trading mediocrity for mediocrity. You could be the Leafs and trade superstar for third and fourth line players. You could do that.
The Leafs, the thing is, the Leafs didn't sign these players like Dvorak and Vladar. I would rather be the Leafs and not sign these guys at all. Like, it makes no sense. We're going to be in the same spot next year. Like, I don't get it. Like, Briere has made some good trades. I mean, he unloaded some crappy contracts. No issues with his trades. I don't mind his drafting. He's drafted fairly well for the couple 2-3 years that he's been there. But I just don't get what the player talent analysis on this team is when it comes to free agents. Like, it's zero. The three of us could go and do a better job than what they're doing.
I think Ron Francis in the Seattle Kraken is doing a better job.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But
There's not one
even their terrible
GM
pickups.
doing worse in free agency than what the Flyers do. It just disgusts me.
But you guys have noticed the Kraken, Jason Botter. Remember we talked about how
Yeah,
what he did
I
in
know.
Buffalo was terrible, and the first few moves and who's the Ranger defenseman that they signed? He played with Fox all the time.
Lindgren?
Lindgren. He fell off the turnip truck last year, right? And he pulled down Fox. They traded him to Colorado. Colorado's like, this guy's a bum. Seattle, we'll give you $4 million a year in multi-year contract. Come on down. Like, Jason Botterill is showing he hasn't changed. Seattle's a lost. They're lost. They're going to be stuck in that 500 loop. Yeah. But
Chris,
I forgot about Botterill. Terrible.
Chris, I want to ask you about all the moves that the Washington Capitals made. What do you think?
Did they make
What
any moves?
moves? They didn't
They
do
lost-
anything.
They lost Maga Penny or whatever his name is there to the Oilers.
He's gone.
Yeah. Kid was happy
He's
about
the guy
that one.
Edmonton signed. Didn't Edmonton sign Mangiapane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kid was happy with that, and I was like, he didn't do very much in Washington. I know he had a great year 4 years ago in Calgary, Was it during the COVID year? Maybe. But
Well, yeah, yes.
he
He had
works
that
hard.
130-goal year, I think it
Yeah.
was, but yeah, he's
And he
dried
played a
up.
lot that year. He was a first line winger that year, but
Yeah.
ever since, no, he hasn't been. But um, yeah, and yeah, today's news is Eller signed with Carolina, which was, Marner was my first pick. Eller is my second pick. Um, Still have a hole at second line center, but so many teams have holes at second line center. So we'll see
Yeah.
if somehow they can figure out a way to fill that in. But
All right. Well, let's move on, guys.
mhm.
Um,
Enough
it
talk.
kind
Enough
of,
talk about free
it
agency and kids and
kind of,
18-year-old
well,
kids.
that's just the way that it is. Like, there was a lot of shit that happened, a lot of stuff. Like, I've never seen anything quite like that in the last week. But anyway, I'm sure it's happened
Especially,
before. It just seemed
yeah.
like TSN and their 14-hour long shows with 400 panelists on there just drives me insane.
Yeah, you might
Yeah,
have to split this show into two because
Yeah,
between the
exactly.
draft and the free agency, there, it's a lot to talk about.
but what just before we move on, FYI, next year's free agent class is loaded. I doubt most of them are gonna. Most of them are not going to make it to free agency, but it's a pretty
Exactly. Yeah.
loaded class next year if no one resigns with their teams. Like we're talking, well, McDavid, Eichel,
Oh no,
Kriparsov.
no, no, no. Those guys can't play third line center, so they're
No,
not.
no,
They're not.
yeah,
On our,
they're not going to Philly. Don't worry about that. They're not going to
they're not
Philly.
on our radar. They don't
All
meet the
right.
requirement.
You guys are going to be
They
trying to
don't
replace Scott
underproduce and
Washington for
get
the next 10
overpaid.
years.
let's go on to the hockey profit segment where I say you two are the hockey profits, and after the mess I've dealt with in the last week and seen, hopefully you guys can make more sense of this than I can. All right. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay. Number one is for Chris. Chris, did you get what you wanted from the Carolina Hurricanes? Did they really help the team overall?
At the draft or free agency or all?
Everything combined.
Yeah, at the draft for sure, because we had late first, no second, 1/3, and we end up with 3 seconds and 2/3. So from a draft perspective, Carolina does what they always do, and they tend to win the draft. And most experts say they won it again. Keandre Miller wasn't really on my radar, but I understand the attraction for them to go after him. And Brendan Moore mentioned it. And I thought it myself. It's like Brady Shea again, right? We sent a first round pick 3 years ago to get Brady Shea because the boy could skate and he has good size, and he fit into the system very well in Carolina. And Miller can skate, and I think that was the big attraction for that. We are a little off balance left and right. I think there could be another move as Brett Burns is going to Colorado now. We'll see if something happens there. I think there's some talk, and maybe Erickson, Erik Karlsson might be coming to Carolina. And then still a second line center they got to figure out. Ehlers, love Ehlers. Hopefully he'll get more playing time and start producing at a level where I think most people expected.
Number two, Mike, is Vegas the favorite to win the West next year? Now, you already said between them and Dallas. Will you pick them over Dallas now?
Well, that's tough. I mean, I think they're both, very similar but different. Like, I think that they both have high end talent, but they have a little bit different way of going about it. I think Vegas
They definitely
has
do.
the best first line with getting Marner and putting him with Eichel. I think they're going to have the best first line in the West, like between the two teams, between Dallas and Vegas. But I mean, Dallas is pretty close. I mean, they've got Rantanen and Robertson and Hintz. So it's going to be a battle between those two teams. I think if there's an edge, Vegas might have a slight edge, but it's very slight, just because Dallas is so well balanced. So, and they kept
Okay.
most of their guys. They only lost Granlund, so tough to say at this point. I'll call it a tie right now.
Okay. Number three, Chris. What place? Oh, you're going to love this one, Chris. What place are the Washington Capitals going to finish in their division next year?
Ooh. It's going to be Carolina, New Jersey, 1-2. Rain. It's between them and the Rangers for that third spot. They're 100% regressing. They're going to regress. That's no doubt in my mind. So, question: will the Rangers get better? I'll say fourth.
Okay, all right. I'm surprised you put them that high, to be honest. The way you hate them so much. But
Well,
number
it's not
four,
hating.
Mike.
No, I'm not hating on them. I just
Yeah,
expect
you are.
Dislike.
they're going to score less. They're going to give up more, and they'll regress. So, but
All right.
the Devils are going to be probably team to beat, and Carolina should be right there with them. But the Devils are stacked, right? They got all kinds of talent if they're healthy.
Number four, Mike. How much are the Flyers going to improve next year?
Improve?
Yes.
Playoffs?
Christian
Playoffs? Geez, I don't think they're going to really improve very much in the standings, if at all.
Okay.
However, I think Rick Tocchet is going to mold the team into what he wants. And I don't think it's going to be a huge change from Tortorella, other than how the players receive the information that they're given from Tocchet. But I don't see much improvement here at all. If Zegras is better than what he's shown the last couple of years, then the team will be a little bit better. However, if he's the player that we've seen the last couple of years, then they're going to be at best what they currently have done. So the goaltending, it's, in my opinion, still not good. I mean, I think Vladar is probably an improvement over what we've got, but it's be so minor of an improvement that it's not going to make a big difference. The defense has not gotten any better.
No.
So there's been very little personnel changes for that team that's going to make the team better going into this year than what they were last year. So I expect about the same.
Number five, Chris. Do you still want your Hurricanes to have a shot at the Florida Panthers in the conference finals next year? Or do you believe that Florida's going to beat them and go to the finals again anyway?
100%. 100% want to play them again next year. And I don't think this Carolina team is going to be what they want until the trade deadline, so next March. Because I think they have to go hunting for that second line center and potentially a right shot defenseman at some point. So, but yeah, have to get past the Devils. But of course, you want an opportunity to beat the champs, right? Everybody wants that opportunity.
Okay. All right. And finally, number six, Mike, and I'm sure you guys will be glad when this is all over with. And anyone that actually listens to us will be glad when this is over with. Mike, for the first time, I'm not asking you a Flyer question at the end.
It's probably a good thing. I think I've already ranted enough about them.
Who is going to be game one starter in goal for the Edmonton Oilers next year?
It could be Chris at this point.
Chris Kidd, you mean? Chris Kidd could be starting.
I don't think, if I have to pick who's on the current roster, I say it's going to be Skinner. But I don't even know if it's going to be either one of the ones on the current roster.
Well, that's kind of what I was wondering. What do you think about that?
Well, what's left, really? I mean,
not much.
There's nothing. Georgiev, Samsonov, they're no better.
But Georgiev was ranked number 4 in that poll that I showed you guys. Remember?
He'll be lucky to get an NHL contract. He might be back in the KHL. There's nothing left in free agency that's going to be any better than what they currently have. So unless they can find a trading partner that's willing to give them a really good goalie for very little in return, they're stuck with what they got. They've got no pieces that they can move that would persuade another team to move a good goalie, in my opinion. What Frederik Andersen should have done is waited till free agency instead of taking $2.5 million,
Right. Yes.
split time
Yep.
in Carolina, he'd be the
He
number one
loves
guy in
Carolina.
Edmonton for about at least $5 million.
Everybody wants to play in Carolina. We know that.
I don't
Right.
blame them for staying. I mean, they've got they're a good team. They've got a probably top four. They're probably the top two in the East between them and Florida, I would say. Um, however, can they beat Florida? That's the thing. But as far as Edmonton goes, uh, no idea who's going to be
They got the
their goalie
Buffalo,
come playoff time. So
the Finnish goalie in Buffalo, I guess potentially could be
Luukkonen,
available.
maybe. And it's not easy to fleece the Sabres on a trade. So, who knows?
All right. And and this is our last show of this season anyway, but I wanted to bring up some of the changes, or just this change in the NHL. They want to move to 84 games and play fewer exhibition games. Me personally, I'd rather see the season shorter. I know that's not going to happen. Last thing I wanted to see is more games added on. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Well, I know I am, but am I crazy?
The exhibition became a farce a few
Yeah.
years ago when the Maple
Oh
Leafs
yeah,
had like
absolutely.
12. Maple Leafs would play 12 exhibition games, and I know Carolina had 4. And it was mostly about driving revenue, making money, and stuff like that. And I think most of these guys only need maybe 2 exhibition games, and then they're ready to go. So this whole 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, it was ridiculous. So
They can bring their rookies in early and get them going if they want to anyway, right? I mean, geez.
yeah, the training camp they'll show if somebody deserves an opportunity, but most teams are pretty much set, right? Like Mike even mentioned, why do some of these teams just not let the young guys on the roster? Why bring in these old veterans with bad contracts and try to force the kids to beat them out? Just give the kids a spot, right?
Well, that's what some of the teams have done,
Yeah, yeah, but
but
but most of these teams are pretty much set. Most rosters are set, and you don't need 10 games to figure out who's who.
Mike, do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at these exhibition games, a lot of these teams, they're not even playing their big name guys. They might play 2 or 3 exhibition games. It's more or less to see which of these, which of the kids and what the third and fourth line guys are going to do. Because I mean, I wouldn't even at this point, like, I know that they've had exhibition games in the area, and you go to them and you're like, you don't even know 3/4 of the players that are playing. Not that you don't know them, but you're not seeing any of the big name guys play.
Yeah, you'd
I
just
know it's
rather not see them.
required. The NHL requires each team to dress. I don't know how many it is,
11?
6.
I think it's 11 with so many games. Yeah.
Exactly, but those 11 are generally the bottom 2 lines, that you're going to see, and mostly kids that are, just there for the experience, as opposed to actually a chance of making the team. Like, they already know this, so can
Hmm.
reducing the exhibition schedule is great. Um, I'm fine with them extending the season by 2 games. And like, we had discussed prior to recording, um, these playoff bound teams tend to rest their stars anyways for the last 2, 3, 4 games. Like, you look at Florida last year, they started really early resting guys, and they were terrible the last month of the season.
Yeah. It just
Um,
goes to show you that last month of the season, how they played, doesn't mean squadouche in the
and
playoffs.
even at the end, they rested guys, and they were still in contention to finish first in the division. And they still, like, it doesn't matter to us. And
Hmm.
as it turned out, it didn't have to matter to them. They still won.
That's right.
So,
That's
um,
right.
but yeah, I mean, the extra games are just to drive revenue to and it's going to up the salary cap, which we already see is going up for several years moving forward. Um, doesn't bother me either way. If they start the season a little earlier, that would be great. With them reducing the amount of exhibition games, maybe they do to get these extra 2 games in instead of
Did they
prolonging
announce
the
that?
season.
I
What's
thought
that?
someone mentioned last week of September to start this up with these changes, but I don't know if it's officially announced to
I'm not
start.
sure.
I don't.
I
I
was
don't think
just
they're doing
reading
that
about it.
this year. Are they? Are they
It's
No,
extending the
next
season
year.
not
starting?
this
Yeah.
year.
No, it's
I-
not this year. It's next year.
But I thought I heard last week of September would probably be the new start date with the 84 games.
Yeah, well, that's good, or at least the first week of October, because I mean, right now they're starting it usually the second week of
After
October.
Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so
That's right. All right. Well, we covered a lot of ground, and I mean, we could have went on a lot longer because there's a lot of players that moved and a lot of changes that were made. I definitely wanted to bring up all the Florida signings because I thought, man, you have to give the GM some credit there. I'm not sure of his name off the top of my head, but
Bill Zito.
well, he's got to be given some credit because he did one hell of a job. Whatever magic he's pulling,
And
whatever hat he's got going.
He came from the Columbus Blue Jackets, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
I think Columbus wishes they would have just kept him.
Well, yeah, probably so. Yeah, absolutely. But is there anything else that you guys wanted to go over tonight? I mean, because like I said, there's a lot. There's way more even than what we talked about.
I mean, we could still probably go on for another hour with the amount of things that's happened in the NHL and that sort of stuff. So I mean, to me, I don't think that there's much more to go on about, other than I will say one thing: the Islanders just yesterday they signed Maxim Shabanov, who was one of the top scorers in the KHL, to come over and play this year. So we'll see what
He'll be Mike's secret pick at the draft.
Well, he's small. He's like 5'8", but yeah, we'll see. He'll be a wild card.
So you think Habs fans, since we have so many Habs people listening to this, they're happy with Dobson, $10 million?
Well, that's another question.
I've heard. I've heard they're happy.
And I've heard they're happy.
The ones I spoke to are happy with it, but they didn't fill that second line center void either. So, and what was available?
They let him go, Mike. They let him go because they couldn't afford the $5.53 million.
Who was that they let go? That was a second line center on that team.
Christian Dvorak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I forgot. But he's only going to be third line in Philly. He's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, there's more talent in Philly than in
you think it was good though? Do you think it was good though for Montreal to give up those picks? What do you think?
They could. They've got a farm system, so it was no issue giving up the picks. I guess it comes down, is Dobson
the guy
qualified first line, right shot defenseman? Is he him? And I guess we'll find that out probably the next 2 years.
Right.
And by getting Dobson too, it allowed them to move Mailloux to St. Louis for Bolduc, who I think is going to be a really good player.
Bolduc, I think, is a good pickup. Yeah,
he's going to be a good fit on that team. So, So basically, they gave up the picks and Mailloux to get Dobson and Bolduc, if you want to look at it that way, I guess. And I think Bolduc was a guy that St. Louis should have hung on to, but they've got some young kids coming up in Snuggerud and Dvorsky that are ready to make the team. So,
oh boy, not another Snuggerud. Oh, I love that name.
He's actually the son of your favorite Dave
I know. I know he is. Love the Snuggeruds. Great players on the Sega Genesis. Just ask Mike. Snuggerud scored on him many times. That slow bomb. All right, guys. I think we've said enough, and I'll leave it there for tonight. This is our last show for this season. We will be back next season, which is really only a few months away, to be honest with you. So like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Later.
Bye.